In the previous lecture, we understood the basic examples of Python. Now let's take a look at a very important module in Python, which is OS. So in this lecture, we're going to just take a look at how we can use this OS module in Python. While working with Python, is it possible to automatically perform many operating system tasks? Yes, it is. The OS module in Python provides functions for creating and removing a directory, fetching its content, changing and identifying the current directory, and so on. The OS module is going to help you to perform operating system tasks. So in this lecture, we're going to understand how we can use this OS module. So let's take a look at a very simple example to understand how OS module work in Python. So let me first import this OS module in the Python program. To work with OS module, you need to first import it. So I'm going to say here import OS, just like this. So once you have the OS module in your Python file, you can use different methods of this OS module. So let me first create a simple directory using make directory method of OS module. So here I'm going to say os.mkdir. So this method is going to create a directory for you. In this method, you need to specify the path where you want to create a new directory. So I'm going to specify here single quote, and in the string, I'm going to specify // to create this directory in the current working directory. And here I'm going to specify name for this directory. I'm going to say OS directory, just like this. And now when I execute this file, you can notice I'm going to have this file here in my current directory, OS directory. This make directory method is going to create a new directory in your Python project. You are free to specify any path inside this make directory method. This method is going to create a directory on your specified path. Now what if you want to change the directory name? The OS module have a rename method that can help you to rename the directory name. So for example, let's say I want to change the directory name of this OS directory. Let me just comment this statement, and down here I'm going to say OS dot, and I'm going to call a method rename, just like this. And to this rename, you need to first specify the directory which you want to rename. So here I'm going to specify single quote and specify the OS directory name. So I want to rename this OS directory, and I'm going to specify a new name for it. And I'm going to specify name. So I'm going to specify here // and I'm going to say here OS dict, just like this. Now when I execute this file, I'm going to just change this OS directory to OS dict. So when I execute this file, you can notice in my project I have OS dict. So using this rename method, you can change your directory name. Just for that, we have another method that can help you to get the current directory. If you want to get the current working directory, then you can use getCWD method. So for example, if I want to get my current directory path, then I'm going to say here print, and then I'm going to specify os.getCWD. This method is going to return the current directory path. Now when I execute this file, you can notice I'm going to have the current directory path on my terminal. You can notice in the project I have this current directory path. So this path is going to return by this getCWD method. So using this method, you can get the current directory path of your project. You don't have to specify manually. Now suppose you have OS directory and you want to remove this directory from your project. You can simply use a remove method of OS library. So you can simply say here os.rm directory. So you need to call here a method rm directory. It means remove directory, and in the parentheses you need to pass argument. So here I'm going to say single quote, and I'm going to specify the path of my directory which I want to remove from this project. So here I'm going to say // dict. I want to remove this directory from this project, so I'm going to call os.rm directory remove directory, and then I'm going to say os dict. When I execute this file, you can notice I don't have the OS directory in my project. So this remove directory is going to remove this directory from my project completely. Suppose you want to get the list of all the files in your project directory, then you can use the OSList directory method. OSList method is going to return the list of current working directory list. For example, let me just comment this statement, and here I'm going to say print os.list directory. Now this method is going to return the current working directory file list. When I execute this file, you can notice I'm going to have the list as a result, and in this list I have all my working directory files. So using this list directory, you can get all your working directory files, and you can iterate all these files one by one to check the file is exist in your project or not. Now if you want, You can specify here path as well. If you want to get the directory list from a specific folder, you can specify that folder path inside these parentheses. So you can pass that argument inside this list directory parameter to get the file list. Now at the last, the OS module is also capable to get the access mode using access method. Let me show you a very simple example to understand how to get the access mode of the file. Let me just specify here command, and down here I'm going to say print os dot access, and then I'm going to specify here single quote dot forward slash, then I'm going to specify here home.html, my HTML file, and then I'm going to specify here comma, and then say os dot rock. Now let me first execute this file and show you the result, and then I will explain this code. When I execute this file, I'm going to have true as a result. Now let me explain this code first. This access method uses the real UID to test for access to the path. If access is allowed, it returns true, else it returns false. This method is going to return the user ID and test for access to this path. If the user have access to this file, then it's going to return true, otherwise it's going to return false. The first argument is the path and the second is the mode. I'm going to get true as a result because we have access to this file. So I'm going to get true as a result. These are some useful modules we can use while creating a Python program. I hope you understand how to work with OS module in Python. Don't forget to search for different methods of OS module and implement it in the Python program. That is all for now. I will see you in the next one.